In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add a reference to your variable to your slide, so this way you can see what the value of the variable is. Now, probably the most common use case for this is somebody may have a variable where you add your name, and so you use a reference to that variable to display the name elsewhere in the slide. But a lot of times people will use reference variables to display the value of the variable so that when you're troubleshooting or working on your course, you're able to actually see that the variable is being changed based on different actions in the course. So let's go ahead and add a reference to the variable. Basically, you need a variable, so we're going to create a variable here. So let's go ahead and add a variable, and you can see it just says variable1. We're going to choose a true false variable, and we can see we'll set the initial value to false. Let's just give it a name too. Click here. All right, so that's our variable. Click here, and its initial value is false. We're going to hit OK. Now I'm working on my course. Let's say I have a button, and when I click on that button, I want the variable to change, right? And let's say when the variable changes, I need something to happen in the course. So I'm doing all that. I preview my course, and it's not working the way I want it to work. So now I need to go back and troubleshoot it. Well, the first thing I want to know is, is that variable actually changing? So when I click the button, if everything's based on that variable, if I click the button, I want to make sure the variable's changing. But I can't see that the variable's changing unless I actually see the variable on the screen, and that's why we want to add a reference. Now this is during your production phase, so you don't really need to worry about where you put the reference. It's just that you can see it on the screen and you can see that things are changing. So let's go ahead and add a reference, and it's pretty straightforward. You're going to insert a text box, so just go to Insert Text Box, and we'll just put it down here. So we've got our text box. While it's still active, you just go up to Insert, and you go to Reference, and that'll open up your variables panel. You can see here's my variable. I'm going to select that, and basically it's just going to type in %, the name of the variable, and %. So if you know the name of the variable, you can just insert a text box and then type that in, just %, name of the variable, %. So right now this is the initial value should be false. So let's go ahead and preview this, and we can see it's false. So let's go ahead and add a button, make sure it's changing. So we're going to add a button in here, and because it's a true false, we can add a little toggle button. So let's go ahead and just add the button up here, and when I click on this, I want to change this from false to true, and then when I click on it again, I want to change it from true to false. What's cool about these true false variables is you really only have two options. It's either true or false. So that means it's currently assigned the value of false, and we can put a trigger on there to change it to what it's not assigned to, which would then be true. But then when it's true, it's assigned to true. So when you click again, it's going to change the value to what it's not assigned to. So let's go ahead and add that trigger. What we want to do is we want to adjust the variable, select our variable, which is the click here that we just created. And the assignment, this is where it's nice. You can create this toggle really simple. We're going to go, we want the assignment to be what it's not assigned to. And this only works for true false because it's just one of two options. So adjust variable, click here to the not assignment. So right now it's false, so that means it's not assigned to true, so that'll become true. When I click on it again, it's true, and it's not assigned to false, so it'll become false. So let's go ahead and we'll preview this, and we should see, click on the button, false, true, true, false. So we know that's working, and that's why we want this variable here, because if I only have the button and I'm clicking on it, I don't really know if the variable value is changing. So if I need to troubleshoot my course, I need to know what's happening here. Now, if you have one variable, it's pretty easy. If you have a lot of variables, I would just go ahead and title the variables. So let's just say this is button1 equals, and then you have the value there, right? So this way, when I preview this, if I have multiple variables, it lets me know, okay, I can see what that value is. If I just have a whole list of variables and I don't know what they are, it could get confusing trying to figure out what to do with the variables. So that's basically it. I'll show you one shortcut though, kind of a bonus shortcut. Let's just delete this. So how do you insert a variable reference? So you have to insert a text box and then you have to insert the reference. So one shortcut is just use Control T and that inserts a text box, and then I can go to Insert and I can go to Reference and I can click on my reference, right? And it loads it up here. So that's one way to do it. Another thing you can do that's even faster is if I highlight the reference here, if I right click on it, I can add that to my quick access toolbar, which is up here. So I'm going to add that here and you can see there's my reference. I can customize that, right? So what we're going to do is let's figure out what we have here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's the 7th position. So watch what happens. I'm going to go Control T. That inserts my text box. If I hit Alt, I can see 7 here. I hit 7, opens that up. I hit OK. So super fast. You just have to remember what you have. So let me show you. So let's delete that. Control T, Alt 7, select my variable, hit OK. So if you're using keyboard shortcuts, that's a quick way to do that. Pretty easy. So I like to do that for some of the ones I really go into all the time. So if you hit Alt, you just have to hit Alt and then that number, and then it'll work for you. So those are 2 tips. So one is using the reference variable, right, to see the value. The other thing is here's a shortcut for adding that if you use keyboard shortcuts.